Hello and thanks for joining the Democracy Day edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozugbakun. Today's edition on Journalist Hangout is special. This is because our fans from far and near have come to hang out with us right here in the studio of TVC Lagos, Nigeria. A round of applause for my studio guest. Now, one of the beauties of democracy is the broad participation of citizens in the political process. This is to engender good governance and keep political leaders on their toes. In our way of enhancing this pan-Nigeria discourse, my colleagues and I gather here week in, week out to interface with you. At this point in our country's political history, we bring you this edition because of our belief in the power of the people to debate and influence what happens in the management of their lives. Let me take time to salute my colleagues who always brace the odds to be here every day on Journalist Hangouts. First and foremost, let me recognize Mayor Akipelu. A round of applause for Mayor. Gani Kayode Balogun, GKB. Take it back. Majid Jamiu, MJ. Mobolade Omonijo. Olayinka Oyegbile. Charles Ideho. IDO. Uncle Leko Shote. Ismail Omikwidon. Shola Ojeusi. Chris Kende Wandu, CKN. Mustafa Ogunshaki. Wale Adeoye. Wahid Bakari. Benga Onitilo. Tunde Abaton. Adekunle Yusuf, aka Kuleshi. Dare Odufowokon. Emeka Madunagu. Boyega Akoshile. Sam Ibemere. Afolabi Akinola. Adeola Yusuf. Tony Waje. Ayo Makinde. Bola Olajuwon. Lekon Fatodu. And our first lady, Stella Sawyer. Festus Erie. And many more. Please, a round of applause for this great man. Last but not the least is the master of the house, is the general and commander-in-chief of Journalist Hangout, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, is the executive director of Journalist Hangout. When I'm not around, I also have some of my colleagues that stand here, that hold forth on my behalf at any given time. Senior citizen Jones Hussein. Veronica Dan Ikpoyi. Kemi Fola Adeyemo. And Mrs. Fireworks herself, Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Thank you so much. For us, these weekly outings must assume a bigger and deeper dimension on a day like this, because every nation must take time at the moment like this to ponder on the way forward. All my colleagues are in the studio to discuss the project Nigeria with you. Of course, our studio audience, a round of applause for this wonderful studio audience. And across the world, from Nigeria to Africa, all over Europe, everybody watching us. Let us put our hands together for our viewers at home. That some are even watching via YouTube, and some are watching through Facebook Live, and some are watching us through our European station, that is B-Sky B515, all over the world. A round of applause. Today, we review the events that have shaped the polity in the last 6 months. We'll focus on security, war against corruption, race to 2019 general election, and the regeneration of Lagos State. I call it Las Gidi. My guests are here and ready to fire. I have Mr. Wale Adeoye. Please come and take your seats. A round of applause. Charles Ideho. And of course, the landlord, Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Gentlemen, besides having you on set on this special democracy edition. Wow. Oh, nice to be back on my seats anyway. A round of applause for me. I'll take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is a special democracy edition of Journalist Hangout. And I also have one of my resource people on set here. He's still with us. I omitted his name when I was doing the introduction. Mr. Martins Oloja. Take a bow, please. Now let's go back to business. Now, security of lives and property is the primary responsibility of government. Mindful of this, President Muhammadu Buhari made security one of his cardinal points of his administration, though some gains have been recorded in the fights against insecurity. Losses have also been recorded. The dreaded Boko Haram group, deemed to have been decimated by the military, remains a threat. This culminated in the abduction of 106 schoolgirls in Dapchi in Yobe State. In February, many have since been freed. A few, sadly, deceased, while Leah Sharibu remains in captivity. In the Middle Belt, killer herdsmen continue to sack communities, leaving behind deaths and destruction, bandits, and also spreading terror in some part of the north. From Benue to Taraba, Kaduna to Zamfara, it has been tales of war. Government has been told to stop the killings. At what cost, gentlemen? It's a battleground, Babajide. It's been, in the last 1 year, in the last 12 months, it has been terrible, yes. Especially in the northern part of the country. The killing has no boundary. Talking about northeast Boko Haram. When you go to northwest, when you go to the Middle Belt, north central, when you go to Zamfara, Zamfara is like a killing field now. This cattle rustlers, those ones that are different from these people. So Babajide, Buhari being a retired general, yes, I thought it's going to be an added advantage because being a security man, you'll be able to know who to put, and regularly changing its security apparatus or security tactics. So far, in the last 3 years, are you impressed with the general in Muhammadu Buhari in terms of security?
Well, I'm not a particularly impressionable person. And I also know clearly that the fact that one is a general does not mean all criminals will go and hide under their beds. They'll be ready to challenge you. As far as they are concerned, criminality is the way to survive. So the president, yes, retired general, but it means nothing to Boko Haram. It means nothing to the bandits who are wasting people in Brenengwari. It means nothing to the bandits who are running riots in Zamfara, and to the remnants of Boko Haram who are hiding on Tangoshe Hills after many of them have fled Zambisa. The fact that Buhari is a general means absolutely nothing.
But those people that they lectured.
The president has to show greater leadership in defeating this run of locusts in our country. Life has become extremely cheap in our country, and as we decimate Boko Haram, we see Boko Haram supplanted by another killer machine in form of killer headsmen. I said some time ago that killer headsmen are more brutal than Boko Haram, and that they kill people with a regularity that is greater than that of Boko Haram. Many people thought I was exaggerating. But if we look at the trend from the beginning of the year, within 2.5 months, they have killed more than 2,000 people. Boko Haram does not have that record. So we must tell ourselves that as we thump our chest that we have degraded the enemy, as we tell people that we have technically defeated the enemy, the goal of keeping Nigerians safe has not been achieved, because in different parts of our country, lives, we are still hemorrhaging lives. So to that extent, the president has so much to do. Yes, we expected so much from the president, and he had to build on the successes recorded against Boko Haram by the last administration. But as we have seen, even Boko Haram has not been defeated. So when anyone tells you that Boko Haram has been defeated, you can safely tell that person that it is a lie from the pit of hell, because we have told them where Boko Haram, they tell us that Boko Haram does not control any part of Nigeria. On this program, I listed the towns that Boko Haram controls, especially in the Lake Chad area. And this is information sourced from Nigerian troops. The younger troops, the junior soldiers, they don't lie. It is the senior people who lie to us. The younger soldiers are interested in their welfare. They don't believe in propaganda. So if you have access to younger troops, to the junior officers, of course you have authentic information. And authentic information is the fact that Boko Haram is active in 3 Nigerian local governments, 3 local governments in Borno State. And we've talked about these 3 local governments repeatedly. Today, I don't want to even mention those local governments. But the people who have the mandate to exterminate Boko Haram, they know where those guys are. And we've been told that they want to wipe them out in 3 months. So General Rogers and his people, they have their work cut out. After 3 months, we don't want to hear that there is still Boko Haram somewhere, because they told us that in 3 months, they will get the job done.
They'll get the job done in 3 months. Charles Ideho, immediately after the euphoria or the noise about Boko Haram, it was coming down sometime last year or 2 years ago. Now we started hearing about herdsmen and farmers clash, conflicts. What is responsible for this new development?
It's quite sad that here in this country, all of us believe that when this present administration came into being, that we were ushered into modern-day El Dorado, where there won't be any fear. People will move around to do their businesses without any let as well. But 3 years down the line, about what are you hearing? So what you saw is like, I can liken it to a 4x4 relay race where Boko Haram started and then they handed the baton over to the herdsmen. So it seems. And then the herdsmen are now running the race. Who they are going to hand the baton over to, we are yet to see that. But I do sincerely pray that we don't have somebody to take the baton from them, so that the baton can drop and then we all go to bed and say, I mean, hooray, it's all done. But having looked at the whole situation, but I think at the heart of everything is money. I'll tell you why it's money. When I took a look at the budget for defense from 2012, 2011 till now, it has been increasing, and it is deliberately so. For instance, in 2012, how much was budgeted for defense? 326 billion. Then it was estimated it was going to be rising gradually for the next 4 years. Why will you say the budget will be rising if you don't have any interest in getting something out of that budget?
What are you insinuating?
What I'm insinuating is that there are people that are feeding fat from this problem. As far as the problem continues, they keep making money. But if the problem ends, then you have taken away their source of livelihood, in quote. So, for instance, do you know how much have been voted for or have been appropriated for the office of the one we call ONSA, Office of the National Security Advisor? Between 2011 and 2015, the Office of the National Security Advisor had got a capital allocation of 240 billion. What do you compare that to? Ministry of Defense, 206. A single office has got that money. And at the end of the day, what is the result? We're still being bogged down by either killings here, people can't go to farm, and then take a look at the issue of where even the headsmen are concentrated upon. Right now, that is Taraba and Benue are the richest point in Nigeria. That is the food basket of the nation. And what we are looking at now is that the harvest season next year, we might be facing food security. People may not know that. Because people cannot go to farm, they can't cultivate. What would they harvest?
Okay, Mr. Adoye, Charles Ideo has refused to answer my question, although he has given some other conspiracy theories. I wanted the definition, and I want what's the meaning of herdsmen farmers clash? When did this start, and how are we going to get this over with?
Well, the first thing is that we have to admit that at the center of development is security. No matter how beautiful your economic programs are, no matter how beautiful your development programs are, if people don't feel secured, if lives are being lost every day, then that is a very huge dark spot on your garment. So I think the issue of herdsmen and farmers clash is a new phenomenon. And we thought that with the decimation of Boko Haram, we will not be having another hydra-headed problem coming up. But as it is now, we have a situation where herdsmen are invading communities, coming all the way from other countries that are not even Nigeria, from Chad, from Mali, killing people at will in the most barbaric and vicious manner. And the most unfortunate thing is that the government has not been able to trace the source of arms, the supply of arms to these people. They have not been able to trace the people that are sponsoring these herdsmen. Then the government has also failed to provide security for local farmers. So we have a situation where people refuse to go to farm. There is threat to food security. There is threat to human lives. And I think at the end of the day, if this thing goes unchecked, it has the potential to destabilize the country and set the country on a ruinous path. So the government must realize this as a very major problem. And it's not a problem that the government can resolve on its own. The people must be involved. And then we must also address the structure of security, whereby security is over-concentrated in the hands of the federal government. The local communities, the states must be major stakeholders. And that's why we are talking about decentralization. The states should take control of police. Local governments should take control of police. There should be local police system in accordance with every federal structure all over the world. The body is too much on the federal government. The federal government needs to unburden itself so that people can also take part in securing their lives and their properties. As it is going now, it is certain that the federal government has no capacity to deal with the problem. The states must involve, local governments must involve, and that's why we are saying that Nigeria needs state police. the country must be decentralized in order to empower local communities to play more role in security.
Babajide, one of the most lucrative businesses you have around now is kidnapping. You have a kidnapper that was said to have even collected a ransom of $1 million. At a point in time, this same kidnapper was said to have collected at a point in time £250,000 ago. Now, it started with the Niger Delta boys during the struggle. They were kidnapping the white men to get, to make their points and to get ransom. And it's all over now. It's even worse in the north. And it wasn't in the north before.
Yes, because we are seeing a disturbing evolution of insecurity in our country. And the forests of the north provide fantastic foliage for criminals. We talk about bandits in Briningwari, kidnapping people, kidnapping housewives before their husbands. You know how painful that can be, especially where people don't joke with the sanctity of their wives. In their presence, you take away 3 wives. It's very rampant. There's a forest that stretches from Niger State all the way to the Zamfara boundary with Kebbi State. So that forest stretches through 5 states. That is the forest where the Zamfara bandits hide. It is the forest where the Briningwari bandits hide. So the Briningwari Funtua Highway is extremely dangerous. If you value your life, don't drive on that highway, because on one day they kidnapped 87 passengers, drove them into the bush, and they got them to be calling their relations, so that with a view to collecting ransom. So in the last 3 to 4 years, kidnapping has been far more prevalent in northern Nigeria than in southern Nigeria. It's just that most times these things don't get reported. That's right. The Kaduna-Abuja highway, the big men in Kaduna today are thanking Goodluck Jonathan for that railway project. From Abuja to can call Kaduna. Him names. You can describe him as an imbecile, call him all kinds of names. But he did that project. And because of that project, a lot of these big men do not have to travel by road. Because you travel by road from Abuja to Kaduna, you're on your own. So they just pay, I learned it has been increased now. They used to pay just 900 naira. You pay 900 naira, they go and drop you on Rigasa, which is a place where in those days poor people used to inhabit in Kaduna. They drop you in Rigasa, and then their vehicles are waiting. They take them away. Many years ago, you would never imagine that people who loved moving in convoys of 6, 7, 8 cars would be entering train. But you see, insecurity is a leveler. We've seen that insecurity is a leveler. The people who value their life the most are the rich people. People who are used to the good things of life. They don't want to lose their freedom for 1 minute. They don't want to lose that. When they lose their freedom, even for 1 week, you see that within that 1 week they had emancipated. Nigerian rich men they value their freedom so much. So they are not joking with their freedom. They will rather enter that train and get to Kaduna than risk their life. So, and a lot of the lawmakers from Kaduna and Katsina, many of them have been kidnapped. They just silently pay ransom and go, because they also know that the police will not be able to help them. We've seen a situation in the past that the police will announce that they rescued, whereas in the real sense there was no rescue. People paid ransom, they were freed, and then the police will come and claim credit that they rescued. You remember the case of the Nigerian footballer based in Italy, Ogbodo, who was kidnapped in Delta State. When the police came out to say, oh, We told them not to pay ransom, and then we secured his release. The family came out to say no.
No, we paid.
It was his football club in Italy that sent the ransom that was paid to this criminal.
Was released, was rescued.
Any business that has a huge profit margin, at the risk of losing their lives, Nigeria will get involved in it. Kidnapping is extremely lucrative now. You see boys that in the past you saw that they used to go around with sanda. They are now kidnappers, and their dexterity at handling the Kalashnikov is fantastic. You saw the young boy that was paraded some months back by the police, who was arrested on that route, Kaduna Abuja route. And then the corruption in the police ensures that even when people try to expose these bandits, the bandits get to know the whistleblower, and then they will come for the whistleblower. The IG had to transfer many of the policemen, in the police stations along that Abuja route. There was a time that he lined up so many policemen on that route. But what is happening? You see someone in uniform look into your car. You think that, he's trying to ensure that, everyone is safe. But many of them are actually working for the bandits. Yeah. When they see the caliber of people in the car, they inform the bandits. The bandits come, they kidnap people, and money is shared. That is why we have that endless cycle of kidnapping. Whether we like it or not, kidnapping has come to stay in our land. Thank God I'm not a politician. When someone said the other day that this is our own share of terrorism, there was nothing that Nigerians didn't say. But the reality is, kidnapping has come to stay. It is big business. People prepare for it. People spend money to get it done. So we have to declare a state of emergency on kidnapping.
Mr. Idaho, there was one man that actually ruled the whole South, the entire South. That's Evans. What's that his name again? He's still under trial. Yeah. Evans. And our crime correspondent, Ivy Kano, actually, was one of the people that the police took to his house and used in Magodo here, the level of sophistication, the tastes. Yes. And a lot of these people in that community, they didn't know that he was actually a kidnapper.
Alan, he was also very generous. See, the thing is, if you look at from where did they took it from, you see that kidnapping, if you put kidnapping and armed robbery side by side, kidnapping is less risk-free, in quote. You in most cases, you don't even need to shoot. You don't even need to shoot anything, because of when they say you are a kidnapper, you have already put a fear in the mind of your victim. But when armed robbers are going on operation, there are two, if 50-50, you either come alive or you get killed. So, but kidnapping is not like that. So and then because they've also worked, as you talk about sophistication, they have been able to cut friendship with the police, and then they are making returns to the powers that be in the police. Police that ought to be, when I was in Dubai sometime, I missed my way. I just walked to a police and then they took me direct to my hotel. But tell the policeman in Nigeria you've lost your way. You are straight to the cell. That's the difference. First of all, they will say,
except the RRS.
Except the RRS in Lagos.
For you to say you don't know where you are going, you are a suspect. That's number one thing. You have to be a suspect for you not to know where you are going. So that's the tragedy of the whole thing. But I think
if you staggered out of a nightclub, then you will get that treatment.
Of course, because you're a suspect, number one suspect. But the thing is, I think we can arrest the drift if the police want to be Nigerians and then have that Nigerianness in them.
Finally, Mr. Adeoye, the fundamental responsibility of any responsible government is the security of life and property. Yes. It is enshrined in the second chapter of our Constitution. Yeah. And when you want to look at it, in the last 3 years, has Muhammadu Buhari been able to carry out this responsibility well?
Well, I think we have to look at it within the context of the historical circumstances, when it came to power, it was extremely very bad. But then, Nigerians voted for him because they realized the situation was very bad. And they had hope in him that he will be able to change that situation from a very bad situation to make it better. And of course, 3 years for me is enough for a serious leader to make that change that we really require. But when you have a situation where every year things are getting worse, Nigerians are bound to ask questions. And of course, the greatest insecurity for Nigerians is when a family wakes up, a family of 5, and has no access to food and water. And I think that is the greatest affliction facing Nigerians today.
Poverty.
There cannot be insecurity greater than that. You wake up, there's nothing to eat, there's no job, there's no hope, and you look at the fact that those that are ruling you, they are not living a life that tells you that the country is broke. No. People live in opulence. Even the insecurity we are talking about affects only the poor people. Most of our lawmakers have policemen that guide them. There are policemen that take their children to schools. There are policemen that follow their wives to the marketplaces. And of course, the rich men, for the fact that they don't have trust in this country, that's why they send their children abroad. So they don't have confidence in the country that they run. That's why most of the time they have their children going abroad. They want to go on holidays, they are abroad. Their homes are fenced. You don't have access to them.
They are sick, they are abroad.
So the police that's supposed to protect the public has been privatized by our own leaders. So you have a situation where everything is becoming increasingly hopeless. But I think the government of General Buhari still have enough time to create that change that we all require. The issue of security is a fundamental issue. People are being kidnapped silently. They are not even talking. They just pay the ransom and then keep quiet because they don't have confidence in the security system. So it's a major problem that unless we tackle it, the country will continue to wallow in a very difficult
Thank you so much, Mr. Adeoye. I want the microphone. I want to take feedback from my audience on insecurity in the country. How has Muhammadu Buhari fared in the last 3 years? First reaction? Okay. 90 seconds, please.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Alaba Alakpe from Sabo Niba Ojo. I greet everyone, Site Babajide and others. I greet you all.
Welcome.
First of all, we need to thank President Buhari. But when we see something that is going on, President Buhari himself is not even behaving like a general anymore. And we that voted for him, that canvassed for him then, we wanted him to behave like a general. That is why we all voted for him, that this Boko Haram. Now, we should believe that this S-men and this killing that is happening in Nigeria, those people who want Buhari out of office, all course in 2019, are behind this thing. And the President Buhari, some of his colleagues and some of his kitchen cabinet members knows these people, but they fail to go after them.
Thank you so much, Alaba Alakwe. Thank you. Round of applause for Alaba Alakwe. I have my first caller, Shegun, is calling from Kwara State. Thank you for joining the Democracy edition of Journalist Hangout, Shegun.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Happy Democracy Day.
Thank you.
Please, my contribution is that the journalists have a long way to go in assisting us in this country. Firstly, concerning the forest, Mr. Babajide, the guru of our generation, is talking about, can't you journalists have advised the governors of those states that forest is good, it's an asset for Nigeria? Can't we turn it to something useful instead of it remaining a forest that is dangerous for our likings?
Thank you, Shegun. Thank you for that contribution, Shegun. Mr. Shino Lorimikon, let me have your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I think the reality of it is that the state of our infrastructure also encouraged these criminal acts. There was a time I traveled to Abuja by road. There is no way you can go at 30 kilometers per hour. You need to slow down, particularly between Edo and Kogi states. So those notorious persons hang around, knowing fully well that you drive, you slow down, and they do what they want to do. Unfortunately, sometimes the sort of weapons they are carrying outmatch our professional security men. And I want to say this. Do you know what the state does when you die in active service as a security man? I'm saying with all due respect, there is bias. If you are a security man, you pray to die as a DSS than a regular police. Because what you take after death is higher as DSS than a regular police.
Thank you, Mr. Lorimiko. Ayo Baje, you want to say something? Ayo Baje.
Ayo Baje is there.
Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Ayo Oyozebaje, President, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria. First and foremost, I want to thank you very much because you are speaking truth to power, and that is what is needed now. On the issue of security, first and foremost, there's what we call gathering information, intelligence information gathering. And then you analyze this, and you act on it. That's one. Nigeria is very poor at having credible database when you want to plan for something as serious as insecurity that we're battling with. Then the other issue that we should look at in terms of insecurity is what is, you talk about the motive when you want to approach a particular issue, and then the method. The motive may be very noble, but the method, you have to carry everybody along. And as one of the panelists there said, we have to decentralize the security system to make it more effective. Thank you very much.
All right. Babajide, you want to respond to any of the feedbacks here from Alaba Lakwe?
No, there was a caller that, first I disagree that these killings are political. Yeah. It's just people who want to find a way to defend the inability of the government to defeat these killings that are saying it's political. In fact, I'm ashamed when I hear people say, oh, it's political. We were also told that Boko Haram was political. We were told that Goodluck Jonathan was the one behind Boko Haram. In fact, there was a colleague of mine here who once said that, look, that they discovered that some of the Boko Haram killers were from the Niger Delta. And I said, you just put me to shame now. Because I expected a level of elevation from a journalist. I said, you just put me to shame. He said, okay, Ankuri. How can you think like this? Remember what Unyako said at the meeting, that even Boko Haram were being supplied equipment and other things with helicopters and other, and his own colleagues among governors. It was even called the FIME that debunked it.
That said, no, dissociates.
We never solve this problem when we continue to deceive ourselves that it's politicians behind these politicians.
Form of conspiracy
Our
theories.
own president, who is supposed to be, Buhari, whatever you say about him, is a honest man. When he was talking in Taraba, he said these killings are economic in nature. They are economic in nature. What are we doing to address desertification? What are we doing to roll back the destruction that climate change is causing? Yeah. The herdsman wants to survive. He's targeting the most fertile parts of Nigeria.
That's why Benue is the worst hit.
When they paraded just three people who sell weapons, there's nowhere you have war that you don't have people who sell weapons. Even during the Civil War, Britons came to Nigeria to sell weapons. When they paraded about three of them, some people say, oh, we said it because they saw their names that clearly those ones were Benue people. They said, we said it is dog eating dog. A politician that I used to respect, because that day my respect evaporated. He too said, yes, I said it. His people, they are the ones killing themselves. But after that, they've arrested 162 headsmen. 162 headsmen and other people that were not from Benue. No, yeah, so right. What do you say?
Okay. I want to thank you, gentlemen.
Secondly, let me just round up on the other issue. He was suggesting, a caller suggested that they should put something in the forest.
Oh, you know the size of...
Sambisa Forest is 6.5% of the Nigerian space. 6.5%, yes. You see, so what do you want to put inside?
Country.
How many soldiers? Someone suggests that we should put Nigerian soldiers there.
Where to do what?
Algeria has the largest army in Africa. Put all the soldiers in Algeria and Sambisa. You cannot defend Sambisa.
Infantry soldiers.
So these are the situations.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, Martins Oloja and Gani Kayode Balogun will join me to discuss war against corruption. Our sister station, TVCE, will also join us in this Democracy Day special edition of Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this timeout. Please don't go away. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is our special Democracy Day edition of Journalist Hangout. I have my live audience in the studio. I say welcome to those just joining us on our terrestrial platforms. Corruption continues to defy logic and attempt to fight the Hydra-hided monster in Nigeria. More so, the war against corruption and the manner it is waged have been divided opinions among Nigerians. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed to remain committed to the cause. In his Democracy Day speech, he said the fight against graft remains the primary objective of his administration. In his words, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill the country. Lately, we have witnessed high-profile arraignments of former governors and ministers. The government has also said its anti-graft policies are yielding huge results. For mention, the president said the whistleblower policy has fetched about 500 billion naira. But in truth, no high-profile conviction has been made to date. Gentlemen, I welcome you all. GKB, what is happening? Part of the campaign promises the sold APC actually gave to us in 2015 was that if we don't halt corruption, corruption was going to hurt the country, and Mr. President is still saying this is like a pet project to Mr. President. Now, talk about the whistleblower policy and 500 billion. I really can't reconcile 500 billion.
Well, it's very simple, really. But in the first place, the quotation you use for the president is not original to him. And we all know that it's going to be extremely difficult. Just like killing the devil. They do it every Sunday in churches. But it still be there next week for them to kill again. And as long as life is there, there will be devils to kill. So the same thing with corruption. What you can do is minimize by setting up structures to ensure that you arrest the basis for corruption. That's why we've said on this program many times that the whistleblower policy is at best a stopgap. It cannot be the main policy direction for fighting corruption. Because ultimately, whatever you're offering them, the corrupt people will offer more down the line. So it simply means that they're going to democratize corruption. So instead of 4 people stealing money, it should not be made to involve about 10. So instead of giving the person 5%, it will now be brought on board to be given 20. That's the reason why we said it can only be at best a stopgap. What we need to do, and we've said this clearly many times before, is the fact that unless the structures are working, and then the mistake the government keep making is this: corruption doesn't necessarily have to be about money. Nepotism is corruption. If I can use that as a synonym. Putting your sister's son into an electoral body is corruption. Giving people offices based on where they come from your part of the country is corruption. So we keep looking at it from one prism, saying that, okay, wherever we're talking about corruption, we're talking about people in power who have separated money based on the position they occupy. But there are so many levels that corruption takes. That's why it's going to be extremely difficult for anybody to say they will kill corruption because corruption kills us. What you can do, and it's not been done all over the world. All the countries in the world still fight corruption, maybe at a minuscule level. but it's always there. So what we need to do, and we told government in the last 3 years, is that stop playing to the gallery. Set up structures that will make these things work. EFCC of today has arrested many people, but how many people are in jail? How many serious offenders who have caught their hands in the jar are in jail today? The Nigerian system is so rot that you can do whatever you like with it. For example, if you don't like a judge and you have the money, you go to the appeal court, then you go to the Supreme Court, then that you don't like the judge, then you come back to that court, they give you another judge, and you start the cycle all over again. But before you know it, 10 years, 20 years are gone, you've kept the money you stole, you've given your lawyer maybe a fraction of it, and doing very well. So the problem is the whistleblower policy cannot be the main reason of killing corruption. At best, just be a temporary short gap.
In the last 3 years, it's no longer business as usual, despite the fact that, look, it might not permeate from the federal government down to states and local governments. But what will you say of that fight against corruption led by Muhammadu Buhari in the last 3 years?
Well, you know, as we have repeatedly said here, it is something he has done very well. But at the end of the day, it is not in words, it is in deed. As many have said here, as we often say here, it is not about the noise. It is not about trial in the media. It is about conviction, and it's about prevention. And I particularly have been saying that unless you build the institutions where these take place, what is corruption, as he was saying? Corruption is dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. Civil service. You cannot be fighting corruption by arresting people that have perpetrated an act. Once you arrest them, you have not dealt with the root of that matter. If you do not deal with the civil service where it takes place, you will not be able to do that. You just fight it in your name. When you leave office, the civil service continues, corruption continues, and you arrest people. That is why people are saying that what is prominent now is fighting corrupt people and not fighting corruption. When you want to fight corruption, you deal with the root, which is civil service. Let me give you an example of an institution he mentioned. In the Constitution, the office that can actually deal with corruption is the Auditor General of the Federation. And in our system, the Constitution gives that Auditor General the power. It's bigger than the Accountant General of the Federation. Look at how it is. Once the President nominates Auditor General of the Federation, it's confirmed by the Senate, it's independent, and can even issue audit queries to the office of the president from appropriation. And once it is confirmed, that person answers only to the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly. And in our system, it's conventional. The Public Accounts Committees are headed by minority parties, by people from the opposition. It's conventional. So this office, if it is strengthened, that is what they do. If it is strengthened, it can fight corruption more than the EFCC and ICPC. Okay. And that is what happens in India and some other jurisdictions where they are fighting corruption.
Thank you for your submission, Martins. Babajide, Martins just mentioned EFCC, and it's a kind of chord struck. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, established in 2004 by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, as at that time establishment till now. How this agency, Muhammadu Buhari, how has he strengthened this agency to fight corruption? Are we seeing any results from their prosecution and what they've been going after in the last 3 years?
Well, the answer is there in the open. They've not been able to jail politically exposed persons, but they always succeed in jailing Yahoo boys and other little criminals. The politically exposed persons have the money to hire the right lawyers. who will expose the incompetence, in my view, of the EFCC lawyers. Because I've been in a court where it was even the judge that was even coaching the EFCC lawyer. Yes, one of those young judges, you know the person I'm talking about. I can't mention his name here. He was coaching the lawyer, one of the very noisy lawyers that we know in Nigeria, because he thought that was the only way he could help the case. Now, prosecution is like a building. If the foundation is not good enough, you will never be able to jail people. What the FCC usually does is they receive petitions from people, sometimes frivolous petitions, and then after that, they will start looking for more evidence to nail the person. And with the politically exposed persons, they always fail. I will give the example of the former governor of Gombe State, who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation. They've been on Danjuma Goje's case since God knows when. He's been tried in Jos. Recently, the case came up for mention. And EFCC's main witness went to court to say, look, it was even Goje that instituted due process in procurement, that all the efforts that are currently being made to ensure that procurement follows due process and transparency, that it was Goje that actually brought those ideas. So when your main witness speaks like a defense counsel, how can you secure conviction? So look I have a document here. It's a classified document that I have here about Shekarau's case. This is an EFCC lawyer writing to the body on 7th December 2017, affirming that Shekarau has no case to answer. This is it. Their lawyer, that's their zonal head, legal and prosecution department.
In Kano.
In Kano. Why? Because Shekarau didn't physically receive money. It was the second accused person, Wali, that physically received money. So how do you pin him? With the allegation of money laundering and all that. Even the ab initio, the charge itself is wrong because it's not money laundering. The money, the source of the money was Diezani, but it was international oil majors in our country that contributed that money. So the money is not from it's not from the National Security Advisor. Now, after this woman wrote this lengthy thing, it took me a while to finish reading this. You still, after 2016, you didn't think you should go and arrest the man. You now went last week and arrested him again.
9 months to the election.
So on what evidence do you want to prosecute this man? All the judges that the EFCC arrested the other day, one by one, they are being set free. One by one, they are being set free. Because usually they do not do due diligence even before they start prosecuting people. I've said it repeatedly. The late former minister of Works, Hassan Lawal, on the day Hassan Lawal was safe, they found about, I think, 900 million in Hassan Lawal's account. And then they went for him. You must prove that the money is proceeds from money laundering, yes, or any other criminal. You cannot just look at Abdulaziz Muitala Yako, the senator. His dad is a big-time farmer. Whatever the proceeds of their farm, they take the money, put in Abdulaziz's account. Because you found humongous money in the account, you now went arrested Abdulaziz. But you couldn't prove any case of money laundering in court because the dad says, see, this is proceeds of my farm. Let's not even go to that one. Let me mention someone that Nigerians know very well. This Baba, who was a former head of service, Obasanjo's former principal secretary, Oron Saye.
Steve.
They said Oron Saye stole so much money. I've always said that is a lie. At the risk of being called a supporter of corrupt people, because I believe in due process. When they got to court, EFCC attached Oron Saye's only building in Abuja. What did Oron Saye do? Oron Saye brought documents showing that it was Union Homes.
Yes.
It was Union Homes that gave him money. And the deductions is from his salary for years. That old man presented that was how he bought the house. At the end of the day, the court freed him. Because just like in the case of Cochrane, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit.
Yes.
So if you don't have evidence, the judge must acquit. So this is what happens all the time. Whether they cannot find the right lawyers now, or the place is just institutionally weak, that it cannot do the right thing to convict people. There was a man that was arrested the other day. What did he say? In the aviation sector, he will know that I'm referring to him. Maybe he's watching me. He said, but who is going to investigate the anti-corruption bodies? You and I know that even the anti-corruption bodies are corrupt. I know someone that because the case was brought against him, what did he do? He carried them along and he went as far as setting up a farm for someone who was working for an anti-corruption body. Till today, nobody talks about that matter anymore. So is that how to win the war against corruption? We can't win.
All right, I have my second caller. Adisa is calling us from Osun State, or State of Osun.
Good evening, the panel is there.
Good evening, Adisa.
I want to give kudos to Otitolu, Judicial, and others there.
Thank you, Adisa.
Greetings to all the audience.
Thank you.
I want to briefly speak on the EFCC article. For Nigeria's move forward, EFCC needs to be repackaged. Everything about EFCC needs to be looked into. EFCC cannot stumble on ordinary paper to prosecute people just because you find figure and to tell Nigeria that they have $5 billion of naira. Like Jide has said about that present paper, there are a lot of cases like that they did not get the facts right. If FCC has one case to one in court, in 10 cases, FCC will win half. I can bet it.
Thank you, Adisa. Thank you for your contribution, Adisa, from Osun State. GKB, now when you look at, Jide has spoken about prosecution, defective prosecution, incompetence, and it reminds me of the judge Jide was talking about. But then, another one is the media trial. Immediately, our laws, there's something that says that the onus of proof is on the accused person. So, a person is innocent until proven guilty by court of competent jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Yes. What you have now, somebody has stolen something, it is alleged that that person has stolen something, you have Anchor and EFCC will bring the media and they splash on his face, they parade that person, 2-3 months, maybe the person goes on bail for self-recognition, 2-3 months, you don't hear about the case. There are some cases from 2003. It was celebrated. Tafa Balogun, the Jolly Yame, all those cases, we don't know the position of.
And you will not know. Because really, there's really nothing to prosecute. The law says he who alleges must prove. But in Nigeria, we like the circus. We like the circus so much that we are willing accomplices to these people that put us on the string and make us dance, Fuji garbage in public. One.
Not Chaku Chaku.
No. I don't want to go to the Kogi rap parties.
No. See, so are you saying Kogi people are the authors of Chaku Chaku?
Anyway, the reality is this. It's It's a game, and we all know. The first thing, of course, is that there will be a lot of public outcry that somebody is corrupt or somebody has stolen. So it behoves on the police to bring out somebody, anybody, just to show that they are working. Remember, there are even times that they wear the same clothes for different set of suspects. That means they have a whole wardrobe somewhere. So when they just bring out, okay, who do we have in our custody?
We'll put some charms.
We have some shirts, put it on them. Let's parade them. Nigerians have an attention span of 20 minutes. And 20 minutes, we are thinking of something else. So once they've done that, they fulfill all righteousness. And they can go back to business as usual. And this is the reason why that works. We judge people by appearance, not by facts. We judge people by emotions, not by facts. We just assume somebody driving a good car is a thief. Well, you don't know whether he took a loan or maybe he married a girl who came into money. We don't care how the money came about. We just assume because his lifestyle has changed, he must be a thief.
Or a Yahoo boy.
Or a Yahoo boy. Or whatever you do. It is the problem of our culture, basically, to ensure that things are done in such a way that we don't do. Like Martin said, look at the civil service. And this is how they do corruption, that I know. Civil servants in Nigeria will look for a virgin land. They will put roads, they will put a fence, they will get a general shovel. They will now sell this land to themselves when it's still virgin at maybe 60 naira or 600 naira. And they will wait 10 years, build roads leading to that estate, and just wait for Mughals to come and buy. And for something they paid 60 naira for 10 years ago, they start selling at 150. They start selling at 200 million. If that is not corruption, I don't know what is. And it pervades the system so much that somebody you know has 200,000 naira a month, has assets worth over 2 billion. Again, police will not arrest these people because they work in cahoots. Again, the FCC will not see these people. But they will see the man walking on the road drunk, and they will take him and charge him for jaywalking. That is their modus operandi. We cannot get it right in this country until we start working on elements that ensure that things we need to do as a country works. And it starts from you, and it starts from me.
There was a list, still on media trial. APC, the Minister of Information, actually brought us his own list on behalf of federal government, and PDP actually had his own its own list, and it became
the battle of the
list.
Yes.
You be thief, I no be thief.
My
You
list
robber,
is better than your thief.
So, and you know,
It's authority stealing, as the late fella will have put it. You know, I have read the views of so many senior advocates of Nigeria on that issue. And they said that, just as he said, unless somebody is convicted, you cannot publicly display that. And we have commented on that. We have professors of law in government. You have so many of them, so many of the cabinet members are even lawyers. And I think the Attorney General of the Federation, they had a State House Counsel, they have so many, even the National Legal Advisor of the party, and so many of them. But you know, that is exactly what we are saying, that they should not dwell on such things like that are prominent but not significant. Rick Warren was talking about things that are prominent but not significant. Those things are not, they are just prominent, media, but not significant. The significant thing is to deal with institutions. For instance, people have expected the federal government, through the president, to have actually done something about the NNPC. When he was coming into power, he talked so much about the corruption in NNPC 3 years down the line. Nothing has been done. Even the laws to break NNPC, only one has been passed, and they are saying that the bill has not got to the president. And as we speak, they are still speaking in tongues about putting NNPC as part of the institutions to put under this TSA. They say that because of joint venture agreement and so many other things, like that when we ask the questions. So it's still something that we should not be talking about you be thief, I be thief, I be thief. That is not the issue. The issue is to strengthen institutions. For instance, government has subscribed to open government partnership at the international level. In 2016, Nigeria signed to it. Yeah. But at the recent Open Government Week in Abuja, I attended. they told us that only 5 state governments, the following, Kaduna, Kano, Ebonyi, Anambra, and Niger states, have subscribed to it in Nigeria, out of 36 state governments. So we talk so much about federal government and corruption, federal government, but what happened at state level, we hardly discuss it.
Babajide, quickly before I join my audience here, this whistleblower policy, the president put a price, 500 billion to it. What do you make of this policy?
Well, it's been a tremendous tool in the war against corruption, and we can see clearly that it's beginning to bear fruits. It's a mutually beneficial tool. If you leak information to the government, you stand a chance of making between 2.5% or 5% of the actual sum. But of course, the government, it must be information that was not known to the government, that was not known to the government before that time. And then, as we saw with the case of those who lied against the former Vice President Namadine Asambo, if you lie against someone and you cause the DSS and the police to be running helter-skelter, you send them on a wild goose chase, you are going to jail. Because those boys have been put on trial now because they went there.
That's danger.
They even searched Namadine Asambo's sockaway. They didn't find any money. You can imagine causing people to be packing excrement, believing that money was being hidden there. But at the end of the day, no money was found. Those guys are currently on trial. So $378 million recovered, and even one of them, the guy who, the whistleblower in respect of the Osborne Road building, came away with 421 million. Man, and he quickly left Nigeria.
No, that's a lot.
He left Nigeria. No, because people will now come after him. You know, people will come after him, ask for him to pay tithes on it. If he does not pay tithes on it, people will move against him and they could kill him. So he has left Nigeria. So the whistleblower policy is a good policy, just as the TSA. Just as the TSA. The TSA thing, Kaduna State, even implemented it before the federal government.
That's correct.
But as we speak, most Nigerian states are not interested. So as he said, we cannot defeat corruption if we leave it to Buhari alone to fight, or we leave it to the federal government alone. The corruption going on in the states have to be addressed if we really want to defeat
the microphone,
corruption.
Stella Sawyer.
Yeah, I think... I want to echo Martin's reaction that corruption will always, fight corruption. People who are corrupt will always want to find a way or a means to fight back. But if the government can strengthen institutions, we'll have a long way in fighting this. I want to cite an example with where I work at the moment. There's everything, what we call compliance, where at every step, the right thing will be done. If at the back of your mind you know that you cannot get away with being corrupt, if you get yourself involved in any corrupt, action, you'll be asked, to go. If every institution, everybody who works in such institution, have it at the back of their mind that you can't get away with, being corrupt, and when you do things, things will be, action will be taken against you. I think that is what Nigerians should be looking at.
Thank you, Stella. Tunde Abaton. Pass the microphone to Tunde Abaton. And we have the last but not least, Mayor Akipelu after this.
Yep. I think we have 4 main issues that is making us difficult to identify what is corruption. Number one, we used to have 3 tiers of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. But we fail to realize that corruption is the 4th tier and is the biggest tier. It has swallowed the first 3. Because without being corrupt, I doubt whether you can become a councillor in Nigeria or a local government chairman. Because, that is it. When we are talking about corruption, look at, we have about 100 private universities in Nigeria. I always tell people that if we can stop corruption or reduce corruption by 50%, 50% of the university will disappear. You only have federal government universities in Nigeria. Because go to private universities, 80% of those people who have children there are civil servants or bankers or oil companies or people in government. So where is the money that are using to fund this university coming from?
Thank you.
80% of those who have university in Nigeria have to do government money.
Mayor.
Concerning corruption, my take is that I think the problem has to do with conviction. If people know that they are going to get away with something, they will do it. So we have to strengthen institutions so that we can have conviction. The EFCC, like the panelist said, are not well funded and have the personnel to be able to secure convictions. So that is why they rely mostly on plea bargain. Until we start making people pay for crime, we will not be able to solve the problem.
Reaction? Gentlemen?
Yeah. They made the point that we need to strengthen the institutions. Corruption can be defeated. I've said it on this program repeatedly that there's a difference between stealing and corruption. And some countries of the world have actually literally defeated corruption, especially those Scandinavian countries. Because you know that from the definition of corruption, even that you read,
yes,
it is different from stealing.
Yes.
And those countries have made it extremely difficult for you to get away with corruption.
Yes.
And that's why in their prisons are literally empty. Their prisons are like 5-star hotels where you have golf courses and all that. So until we get to that point, our own prisons are full.
GKB, your position.
Well, everybody has said it. Institutions. Until we get that right, we just keep on moving in circles.
Mr. Aloja.
Oh, definitely. I still believe in strengthening institutions and not individual trials. It's just institution. Build the institution, prevent it from building institution, and don't allow anybody to go away with it. Because any kind of mercy, according to Shakespeare, any mercy that forgives a murderer encourages murder.
Martin Aloja. When we return, we beam a light on the race to 2019 elections. Don't go anywhere. It's still the Democracy Day special edition of Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this breather. Stay with us.